You ever get one of those gut punches that don't come with sound? Just silence. Like the whole world holds its breath for a second, just long enough for you to realize it's never going back to the way it was. It was a Thursday night. Nothing special. Just me at the kitchen table, half distracted by a baseball game on TV, sorting through credit card statements like a responsible idiot. Then my phone buzzed. Added to chat. Me and baby. Now listen, I'm not the kind of guy who snoops. I don't go looking for reasons to doubt people. But when you suddenly land in a private chat between your stepson and his girlfriend, and the group name includes a heart emoji, your thumb doesn't hesitate. Curiosity doesn't knock, it kicks the damn door in. First message I see is from her. Did you ask him for more yet? Cars do. Then him. LOL, not yet. He thinks that by paying for my education and car rental, he becomes part of this family. Huh. And then the one that turned my blood into acid. He's just our wallet. LOL. I scrolled in disbelief. My stepson, who I coached through math homework, whose first car I paid to fix, whose college tuition I've been covering, mocking me like I'm just the ATM in the hallway of their lives. Then she chimes in again. Your mom is milking him for money to pay off the mortgage on the house for your real dad. That line. That one. Like a lit match in a barn full of hay. All these years, I thought I was helping build a future for our family. Turns out I was funding someone else's past. Some guy who probably skipped town when the hard parts came, and now, suddenly, I'm footing the bill for the house he used to sleep in. I felt my heartbeat in my teeth. And the encore? As soon as I finish college, she's leaving him. She. My wife. The woman who asked me to co-sign the refinance. The one who cried in my arms about how hard it was to be a single mom before me. I stood beside her. I stood behind her. I lifted her kid when his own father wouldn't call on birthdays. And she's planning her exit like it's a prison break, waiting for the tassel to turn on her kid's graduation cap before cutting the rope. I didn't sleep that night. I didn't yell. I didn't confront. I planned. Cold, quiet, calculated. That's the kind of man I had to become in the hours between that discovery and the sunrise. You don't nuke your own life on impulse. No. You aim. You measure wind speed. You calibrate for distance. Then you pull the trigger. The next morning, I was up before any of them. While the boy was still drooling on his pillow, dreaming of spring break with my money, I was on the phone with the rental agency. I'd like to end the agreement on vehicle ID #4238. LX, I said. Sir, that contract is under your stepson's name. It's under my payment. That makes it my car. Tow it. They hesitated, but not for long. You speak with enough certainty, people don't ask too many questions. Next, I logged into the joint account I shared with her, the woman I once called my partner. Froze it. Left just enough to cover a couple utility bills, so the light stayed on long enough for her to read what I left behind. Then I made one last call. To the only person in that house who had never lied to me. Never used me. Never looked at me like I was a means to an end. Maria. Our maid. Yeah, I know what you're thinking. But Maria? She's been with us since the beginning. Saw everything. Heard everything. And stayed loyal. She didn't speak much English, but when I said, how would you like to go see the ocean? She smiled like the sun rose just for her. We were on a plane by noon. No warning. No goodbye. Just silence. Let them choke on the absence. Let them wonder how the air got so cold without me in the room. When the wheels touched down in Puerto Vallarta, I felt something strange, like I was waking up from a coma I didn't know I'd been in. Maria looked out the window, wide-eyed like a kid on her first field trip. I wasn't smiling, not yet, but something inside me had cracked open. Like the dam broke, and finally, the water could run. We checked into a villa I used to think was too extravagant. Funny how fast your standards change when you realize your home isn't your sanctuary, it's just the theater where everyone performs their lies. Maria didn't ask questions. She didn't need to. Her silence was the only honesty I'd felt in years. Meanwhile, back home, I knew the curtain was rising on my absence. I imagined it. Wife waking up late, confused I wasn't in bed. Reaching for her phone. No message. No call. Just silence. She'd walk downstairs, robe dragging across the hardwood floors I paid to have refinished. She'd see the coffee wasn't made. The morning paper still rolled up on the porch. Then she'd check the bank app. Frozen. Maybe that's when her stomach would flip. When she'd realize the leash she thought she was holding had snapped. And the boy? He'd step outside in his slippers, expecting to find his precious little Audi parked where he left it. Instead, empty curb. Towed. Just like my patience. I didn't leave a note. Not a single explanation. Because there's nothing to explain to people who already decided you're not a person, just a paycheck with legs. But I wasn't done. In that villa, while Maria was laying out by the pool, I opened my laptop and went full surgeon mode. Every credit card that had her name attached, canceled. Subscriptions? Terminated. Spotify? Goodbye. Netflix? Find a new provider, sweetheart. I even contacted my lawyer. Steve, I said, I need everything prepped for divorce. And I want the house appraised. He knew better than to ask why. Steve's a bloodhound in a suit. One of those guys who eats prenuptial clauses for breakfast and still has room for custody terms before lunch. He asked one question, though. You sure about this? And all I said was, she was. That shut him up real quick. Later that night, Maria made dinner. Nothing fancy, just grilled fish and vegetables. But the way she moved, so calm, so real, it was jarring. I'd gotten used to performance, to drama. Maria was just present. And it hit me. I'd spent the last 5 years giving everything to people who rehearsed love but never lived it. They sold me a lie, gift-wrapped in family photos and Sunday dinners. But the minute I stopped being useful, they were ready to cash out. Well, guess what? I closed the account. That night, Maria and I sat on the balcony, drinking tequila I would have normally turned down. You okay, senor? She finally asked. I thought about it, looked out at the ocean, and then I said, no, but I will be. She nodded, not out of politeness, but understanding. Back home, they were probably panicking, calling friends, digging through their contact list looking for someone to mooch off. My wife, ex-wife in waiting, would try to charm her way out of the hole. Cry if needed, lie if required. But me? I was already drafting a list of names for the house deed transfer. See, I wasn't just leaving. I was erasing myself, taking the power back inch by inch. They thought I was the fool. But the thing about fools, we tend to remember everything. It took exactly 36 hours for the first text to hit my phone. Wife. Hey babe, where are you? Your phone went straight to voicemail. Everything okay? Babe. The gall. Like she hadn't been scripting her getaway with my money just days ago. I didn't respond. I just stared at it. Not with rage. Those flames had already burned out. What was left was colder. Harder. Like a steel rod in the spine. 10 minutes later. Wife. The bank says the account's frozen. What's going on? And then, not even 20 after that. Wife. Your stepson's car is gone. Did it get towed? He's freaking out. Freaking out. Good. Let him feel it. Let him stand there on the sidewalk where the engine used to be and realize that the man he laughed at was the only reason he was ever in motion. Then came the phone calls. Back to back. I watched them light up my screen one after another from the pool chair. She was blowing up my phone like a teenager with a bad conscience and no plan B. I didn't answer, but I did open her contact and change the name to liability. For the first time in years, I felt like I had control again. Not revenge. Not yet. Control. The leash that had been around my neck for far too long was now around hers, and I held the other end. Later that day, Maria and I went out into the town. No schedule, no expectations. I bought a pair of sunglasses. She bought a small hat she said made her look like a tourist trying to be a model. We both laughed. It was the kind of simple laughter you forget is possible when you live in a house where love is a transaction. Back at the villa, I found an email waiting for me. Not from her. From my stepson. Subject, dude. Not cool. Dude. I opened it. Hey man, I don't know what's going on with you and my mom, but towing my car and cutting off school payments is petty as hell. We're family. That word again. Family. He only ever used it when tuition was due or rent was late. Suddenly, I was dude and man and a wallet, all in the same week. I closed the laptop without replying. They didn't get it yet. They were still hoping this was a tantrum. That I'd come home, tail between my legs, with an apology bouquet and a checkbook. But I wasn't having a breakdown. I was having an awakening. The next day, I called Steve, my lawyer, and told him to start the paperwork for asset separation. He asked if I wanted to keep the house. I laughed. No, Steve. I don't want the house. I want it sold. And I want my cut. She can split walls with her real husband once she crawls back to him. You're sure? He asked. As sure as she was when she planned to walk out on me with a diploma and a deed I paid for. Then I had a thought. Actually, Steve, put a lien on it until the divorce is final. Let her sit in that house knowing every brick is in my name. That should help her think things through. I could hear him smirking through the phone. You've been watching those legal dramas again? Haven't you? Nah, real life's better. After I hung up, I realized something. I wasn't rebuilding my life. I was reclaiming it. Every cent I spent, every favor I gave, every weekend I sacrificed while they pretended I was part of the family, I was taking that energy back. It wasn't about the money. It was about meaning. And if they had to sit in the ruins of their schemes to finally understand that, I was fine with that. More than fine. I was vindicated. By the third day, she stopped pretending. No more soft little "hey babe" texts. No emoji-laced guilt bait. She must have realized the charm wasn't going to land anymore. The next message came colder. Angrier. Wife. I don't know what you think you saw or heard, but if this is about Jason's chat, you're blowing things way out of proportion. He's just a kid. You don't seriously believe I'd leave you, do you? There it was. Denial wrapped in manipulation, with a cherry on top made of gaslight. You don't seriously believe. As if the screenshots weren't still burned into my memory. As if I didn't reread them every time I wondered whether I was overreacting. I wasn't. She'd played me. Jason had mocked me. And now they were scrambling like cockroaches under the fridge light because I flipped the switch. I didn't respond. Not yet. Because I wanted her to sit with it. Stew in that silence. Let it grow teeth. Instead, I sat on the villa's terrace, sipping coffee with Maria as the sun came up. She didn't ask about the phone. She could tell something had shifted. How long you stay here? She asked in her gentle, accented voice. As long as it takes, I replied. I've got nothing to go back to. She gave me a quiet nod and passed me a plate of fresh fruit. In that moment, I realized something. This woman, who washed our sheets and folded our laundry for years, knew me better than the woman I married. Because she saw the real version. The tired version. The quiet provider who patched leaky sinks and showed up to parent-teacher conferences with a smile that didn't always fit. My wife? She saw a bank account. A convenience. A placeholder until she cashed out. And now? She was about to find out what life looked like when the placeholder left the page. That afternoon, Steve sent me the draft of the divorce papers. I opened the document and felt something close to peace. Not joy. Not relief. Just clarity. It was like watching the pieces of a shattered mirror settle after the fall. And in that reflection, I saw myself, not the husband I was pretending to be. Not the stepfather chasing approval. Just me. I signed the first page. Then I added one more move to the playbook. I transferred the ownership of the vacation villa into a newly formed LLC. Guess whose name I didn't include? Hers. Let her try to come after this place. Let her hire a lawyer. Let her dig through the sand with a plastic spoon looking for the treasure chest. She won't find a dime. I texted Steve. Also, let's start listing the house next week. Don't tell her. Let her get the notice from the realtor. Steve responded with a simple thumbs up. God bless lawyers who don't ask too many questions. Back in the States, I could only imagine the chaos. Her cards were still frozen. The boy's car was still missing. And the mortgage was no longer being quietly paid by her dumb, doting husband. Just a kid, she said. He's 22. Old enough to drink, vote, and scam a man out of a college fund. But now, the tide had turned. No more comfort. No more blind loyalty. And no more pretending. I was going to watch them unravel. And I wasn't going to lift a finger. Day 5. My phone had been blissfully quiet for a solid 20 hours. I knew what that meant. She'd run out of charm. That was her first weapon. The smiles. The kisses with strings attached. The thank you, babe, after every wire transfer. But when that failed, she leaned on guilt. When guilt stopped working, she went nuclear. So I knew the silence now wasn't peace, it was recalibration. That afternoon, it shattered. Wife. I don't deserve this. I gave you years of my life. Jason looked up to you. You're tearing our family apart over some stupid texts that were obviously jokes. Our family. It's incredible, really, how the word family only got dusted off when things fell apart. Not when I was working weekends to pay for her son's tuition. Not when I sold my watch to cover the down payment on a car he drove straight into a ditch 6 months later. No. Now it's a family. I didn't reply. Again. But I did make another call. To the bursar's office at Jason's college. Hi. This is David Warren. I'm calling about the payment plan for Jason Elliott. Yes, Mr. Warren. You're listed as the financial sponsor. Not anymore. I officially removed myself from the account. No more tuition. No more textbook stipends. No more direct deposit for off-campus rent. Let the real dad chip in. Or maybe the girlfriend can Venmo him between jokes. Back at the villa, Maria was ironing a fresh set of linens when she looked at me and asked, "You okay today?" And for the first time, I actually said it out loud. I think I am. Because I was. Or at least, I was getting there. I walked down to the beach later that evening. It was quiet. The kind of quiet I hadn't known in years. Not the absence of noise kind. The kind where nothing was expected of you. Where no one's leaning on you with invisible debts and emotional IOUs. And I realized I hadn't missed my old life. Not my wife. Not the boy. Not the routine of being the household's invisible backbone. I missed who I was before I became useful to people who didn't care if I was happy, so long as I stayed available. Back in the States, the wheels were turning. My lawyer sent a message. She called today. Said she wants a conversation. I told her you're not taking calls. Good. She could talk to the silence for now. Maybe it would finally teach her to listen. And the best part? The house was going on the market next week. No warning. Just a sign in the front yard, and an email from the realtor with her name not on the copy list. I imagined her walking out in her bathrobe, holding a mug, only to see strangers pulling into the driveway with clipboards. Let her feel sold. Let her taste what I've been choking on for years. Because luxury has an expiration date. And hers just arrived. Meanwhile, Maria had started humming when she cleaned. It was soft. Barely there. But it reminded me of something. Peace doesn't roar. It whispers. Day 6. A message from my lawyer. She's asking for mediation. Says she's confused. Wants to understand what happened. Confused? I almost laughed. Funny how people get confused when consequences show up with luggage. When the security they took for granted suddenly packs its bags and leaves without a goodbye. Understand what happened? Let's rewind. She married a man who worked late so her son wouldn't have to flip burgers between classes. She kissed that man goodnight while texting another about mortgage payments on his house. She clinked wine glasses with me while planning an exit behind my back, using my money to build a runway for her second act. But she wants to understand? I had half a mind to send her the screenshots again, just in case her memory was as selective as her loyalty. Instead, I sent Steve a message. No mediation. If she wants answers, she can read the statement from the bank, the tuition office, and the real estate listing. And speaking of listings, Steve confirmed the realtor had photographed the house. You'll be proud, he said. Took down the family portraits. Replaced them with stock art. No trace of you left. Good. That house wasn't a home. It was a performance space. Every holiday, every dinner, every smile in front of guests. Scripted. Polished. Pretend. Now, let strangers walk through it and marvel at the hardwood I installed with my bare hands. Let them compliment the kitchen island she picked out while talking trash about me to her sister. Let her stand in the middle of it and feel what I did for years. Alone. Later that evening, I turned my phone back on. Just out of curiosity. I wasn't expecting anything new. But I was wrong. A voicemail. I played it on speaker, sitting on the terrace with a drink in hand while the sun dipped into the ocean. Her voice, trembling, half sincere. David, please. I don't know what you think you saw, but I need to talk to you. Jason didn't mean those things. He's just a kid. And I was scared. I wasn't going to leave you. I was just overwhelmed. Everything's happening so fast. Please call me back. We can fix this. That last part? We can fix this. She said it like we'd dropped a glass on the floor. As if betrayal was something you sweep up and forget. But here's the thing. When glass breaks, you don't just lose what it held. You start bleeding if you're stupid enough to try picking up the pieces. I didn't respond. Instead, I blocked her number. One final click. One small act of closure. The next morning, Maria brought me breakfast, eggs, fruit, toast. She didn't say much, just gave me a small smile. You're better today, she said quietly. I nodded. I feel free. And I meant it. There were still legal steps to go. Still more documents to sign. But emotionally, the chains had cracked. I wasn't healing. I was cutting loose. I sent one more message to Steve. Once the house sells, have her vacate within 10 days. No extensions. Then I sat back. The ocean wind in my face. The taste of freedom still warm in my mouth. And back home? That silence she once used as a weapon? It was turning on her now. Because there's nothing more terrifying to a manipulator than a man who stops replying. The day the house hit the market, the listing went viral on our neighborhood's Facebook page. Some local busybody posted it with the caption, "Wow, didn't they just remodel? Trouble in paradise." I didn't need to check the comments. I could imagine them already. Thought they were the perfect couple. He always seemed like such a good guy. Wonder what happened. Oh, I could tell them. I could unload the whole story, screenshots, receipts, the works. But no, I didn't need to broadcast the truth. I just needed her to live in it. Steve messaged me later. She's furious. Called me yelling. Said listing the house without her permission is cruel. I texted back. So is betrayal. Remind her who's on the deed. He replied with a simple, done. Later that night, I got a surprise. An email from Jason. Subject, just want to talk. I should have deleted it. But curiosity's a strange thing. You don't want to dig, but your brain insists on seeing just how low someone's willing to crawl when their meal ticket walks out. I opened it. Look, I messed up. I didn't think you'd take it so seriously. Mom's a mess. She's crying all the time. She says you're not answering anyone. This is really messed up, man. Can we just talk? I stared at the screen. Hands still. Jaw tight. And then I typed one sentence. You should have thought of that before you called me a wallet. I hit send and blocked the email. Jason wasn't sorry. He was inconvenienced. And his mother? She wasn't heartbroken. She was exposed. The whole show they'd been running, fake smiles, fake love, fake gratitude, canceled. And me? I was off the subscription list. Back at the villa, Maria brought out a bottle of wine that she said she'd been saving for something real. We didn't toast. We didn't make it a moment. We just sat there, two people who knew what it felt like to be invisible. But I wasn't invisible anymore. I was done giving to people who only remembered my name when they needed a signature. Done with being the man of the house when the house was a lie. I started writing a letter that night, not to her, not to Jason, to myself. What I will no longer tolerate, I titled it. I will not explain myself to those who never cared to understand me. I will not keep people warm who would leave me out in the cold without a second thought. I will not invest in anyone who sees me as an option instead of a priority. And most of all, I will never again confuse being needed with being valued. I folded that letter, slipped it into the drawer beside my bed, not because I'd forget, but because someday, when I felt the old instincts creep back, the urge to fix, to forgive, I'd open that drawer and remember how it felt to be used. I wasn't healing. I was evolving. And evolution doesn't go backward. Day 9. Steve called. Got an offer on the house, he said, like he was handing me the last piece of a puzzle. Full asking. All cash. It hit me harder than I thought it would. That house wasn't just lumber and drywall. It was memories. Dinners I cooked while she scrolled her phone. A garage full of tools I bought, thinking I'd one day teach Jason how to use them. A backyard I reseeded with my bare hands so they could throw barbecues and pretend they were some all-American family. But the truth? All that effort was fertilizer for a tree I'd never get to climb. Take the offer, I said. I want it gone. Steve paused. She's refusing to leave. Says it's still her home. That made me smile, not because I enjoy watching people suffer, but because she thought she still had say. So I gave him permission to deliver the reminder. This isn't her home. It was mine. She just occupied it while I footed the bill. Time's up. Later, I got a photo from the realtor. A for sale sign gleaming in the front yard. Right beneath it, an open house banner strung between two trees I planted. I stared at that image for a long time. Not with regret, with satisfaction. Because when people use your kindness like a buffet, they never think the chef might lock the door one day and burn the menu. I didn't hear from her that day, but I did hear from her sister. A surprise call. I let it go to voicemail. Played it back later. Voicemail. David, it's Carla. I don't know what happened between you two, but she's not well. She's crying nonstop. She said you ghosted her and drained everything. I mean, come on. You've been her rock. Jason looks up to you like a father. You really gonna walk away like this? Yes. Yes, I am. But more importantly, they weren't upset because I walked away. They were upset because I stopped carrying them. The second I unplugged the machine, they started scrambling like patients losing life support. That night, I watched the waves crash against the rocks below the villa, and it hit me. The life I lived for the last 5 years was nothing more than a stage. I was the lighting crew, the set designer, the actor, and the audience. And they were the performers who stayed after the curtain closed, stealing from the green room while I cleaned up. But now, the stage was dark. The lights were off. The theater was closed, and I'd left them locked inside. Maria came out with 2 glasses and sat next to me. Still thinking? She asked. Yeah, I said. But less. She nodded. Good. Thinking too much makes old pain feel new again. She wasn't wrong. Back home, I knew she was probably pacing around that house, trying to figure out her next move. She had no access to the accounts, no leverage in court, no husband to cover the cracks. The game was up. The pity parade wasn't going to work on the judge, especially not once Steve dropped the bomb. The screenshots from Jason's chat. We'd already submitted them as evidence. Every LOL, every he's just our wallet, every detail. Let her try to explain that one under oath. Let the court hear what kind of partnership she thought this was. Because betrayal doesn't get to wear a veil and call itself a misunderstanding. It gets stripped, documented, and delivered in legal terms with permanent consequences. And me? I didn't need to scream. I didn't need to rage. All I had to do was walk away, quietly, permanently, and with all the receipts. 10 days post-detachment. The paperwork was moving fast. Faster than she expected. Funny thing about lies, they unravel real quick when the glue holding them together stops paying the mortgage. Steve texted me that morning. She's hired her own lawyer. Already trying to contest the house sale. I chuckled. Not because it was funny. Because it was predictable. He sent a follow-up. They're claiming she's entitled to half the equity because of contributions to the household. Want to fight? I didn't reply right away. I walked to the edge of the beach. Let the salt hit my face. And I thought about every contribution she made. Late-night Amazon binges on my card. Trips to see her aunt that cost $1,200 a pop and returned with no souvenirs, but better clothes. The time she hired a landscaping crew I never asked for, then asked me to tip them. So I responded. Fight it. Submit every statement. Every charge. Every transaction she made under my name. Let the judge see the truth, line by line. Because you can't gaslight a ledger. You can't sweet-talk your way out of arithmetic. The numbers don't care if you're crying. They don't care if your mascara is running or if your lawyer thinks this seems harsh. They only show the truth. And the truth? I bankrolled a performance. I paid for a fantasy. And I got billed for betrayal. Later that evening, I got an email from her, through her lawyer. A letter. David, I'm sorry for how things have gone. I understand that we're both hurting, but I'd like to resolve this in a way that honors the years we had. I never meant for you to feel used. I was confused, overwhelmed, and felt like I couldn't contribute enough. Jason was just venting. Please don't let this end in bitterness. We were family. We were family. There it was again. Like a ghost of a word she kept dragging out of the grave, hoping it would cover the stench of what she'd buried beneath it. But family doesn't mock you behind your back. Family doesn't scheme with their child to milk you dry and hand the proceeds off to another man. Family doesn't plan your replacement while you're out there breaking your back to keep the lights on. I forwarded the letter to Steve. Add this to the file. No response. He got the message. That same day, the villa owner messaged me. Said another tenant wanted to book it, but if I wanted to extend, it was mine. I didn't hesitate. I'll take another 2 weeks. Maybe longer. I wasn't ready to return. Not to that country. Not to that address. And sure as hell not to a courtroom filled with crocodile tears and rehearsed regret. Maria noticed the difference in me. You look lighter, she said one morning, setting my coffee down. I am, I said. They're trying to dig out of the hole they jumped into. But they don't realize there's no ladder. Only sand, she replied. I smiled. She understood more with 10 words than my wife did in 5 years. Meanwhile, back home, Jason's tuition was still unpaid. His college had likely sent a warning letter. His girlfriend probably bailed the moment the money did. And the Audi? Last I checked, it was sitting in a tow lot, racking up fees. Let him figure it out. Let him walk to class, take the bus, beg his mother for change. Let him understand what it feels like when the world doesn't owe you anything. Because I owed them nothing. Not after what they did. Not after what they planned to do. And most importantly, not after I remembered who I was, before they tried to rewrite me. 2 weeks after the house hit the market, the offer closed. Clean. Full cash. Final. Steve called me first. It's done. Escrow closed this morning. The funds hit your account. That should have been a relief. But it wasn't relief I felt. It was closure. Not the soft, movie-ending kind where everyone hugs and learns a lesson. The sharp, surgical kind where you cut out the infection before it spreads again. But like all parasites, she didn't leave quietly. Steve continued. She's still in the house. Says she needs time to transition. I laughed out loud. She's had 5 years to transition, Steve. She just didn't think the train was ever going to stop running. I can serve a formal notice. 10 days. After that, we file for forcible eviction. Do it, I said. Let her know this ride's over. That night, I sent her one last message. Not through Steve. Not through lawyers. Straight from me. The house is sold. You've got 10 days to vacate. After that, the sheriff handles it. I suggest you leave with whatever dignity you have left, if you can find it. No response. But I knew it landed. I imagined her standing in that kitchen, the same one I renovated, reading the message, phone shaking in her hand. The wall she decorated with Pinterest garbage and fake smiles? No longer hers. The place where she laid her betrayal bare? Sold. Gone. No keys. No power. And no audience. Let her try to pack memories into cardboard boxes. Let her box up her favorite wine glasses and realize the man who bought them won't be bringing more. Meanwhile, Jason was about to find out what adulting really looks like. Tuition unpaid. No car. Girlfriend vanished. And guess who just got served notice that the apartment he was squatting in was being foreclosed with the house? Yep. Mommy's boy was going to need a real job. A real life. A real dose of consequence. And maybe, he'd finally realize that laughing at the man feeding you is a luxury only fools afford. Maria brought me a local newspaper the next morning, open to the real estate section. She pointed to an ad. New house? She asked, half joking. I looked at the ad. Some stunning place on a cliff. More space than I needed. Too nice, really. But maybe it was time. Time to start thinking not just about escaping the past, but building the future. Not a future based on obligation, or pity, or some fantasy of being accepted into someone else's mess. A future that was mine. I didn't answer her right away. Just folded the paper and smiled. Maybe. But first, I want to watch this storm finish blowing through. Because justice? It wasn't just about revenge. It was about watching the weight of their choices finally land. Watching her carry the bags alone. Watching him beg professors for mercy. Watching them both stand in the rubble of what they tried to build on a foundation of lies. They didn't expect the ground to shake. But I was the ground. And I'd had enough. For days into her grace period, Steve forwarded me an email from her lawyer. Subject line. Urgent. Reconsideration of property terms. The body? A pathetic little cocktail of guilt, desperation, and just enough legal fluff to pretend it wasn't begging. My client is requesting a temporary extension to remain on the premises due to emotional distress and financial instability. She is also requesting reevaluation of the asset split, given that her son has been rendered homeless as a result of this process. Homeless. That's rich. Suddenly, Jason's not a grown man laughing at the guy paying his rent. He's a poor, innocent child displaced by unfair treatment. I told Steve. Deny it. No extensions. No reevaluations. She's not a victim. She's just out of options. Steve replied. Understood. Clock's ticking. And here's the kicker. When the ones who used you start running out of rope, they don't hang themselves with it. They try to lasso you back in. But I wasn't going near that noose again. I checked my phone that afternoon. New message. From Jason. Again. This is seriously messed up. Mom's losing it. We have nowhere to go. You really think this is fair? Fair? You want fair? Fair is me keeping that Audi on the road while you called me a joke in your group chat. Fair is me paying your tuition while you plotted with your mom to cut me out of the life I built. Fair was me giving everything I had without asking for applause. And what did I get? Mockery. Plans for replacement. He's just our wallet. So no, this wasn't fair. It was justice. I didn't reply. But Maria must have seen the tension in my jaw. She handed me a cup of coffee, her fingers barely brushing mine. You don't have to keep watching the fire, she said. I know, I said. But sometimes you gotta watch it burn all the way down to believe it's really gone. And burn it did. Steve called me the next day. She's gone. Packed up at the last minute. Realtor said she didn't even leave the place clean. Just scattered boxes, a few empty wine bottles, and a mattress on the floor. Fitting. A queen stripped of her castle, left with nothing but the trash she created. They left together? I asked. That's the thing, Steve said. She left alone. Jason wasn't with her. Now that was interesting. I did some quiet digging. Reached out to an old contact at the college. Turns out, Jason had been couch surfing since the car got towed. His girlfriend dumped him a week ago. Word was, she figured out what was going on after he started whining about money and how his stepdad ruined everything. No, kid. You ruined it. You laughed at the man holding the umbrella, then cried when the storm hit. But what made me grin? Jason didn't go with her. The golden boy, the co-conspirator, the beloved son, had turned on the queen. Because once the money dried up and the shelter sold out from under them, all that we turned into me. You know what happens when wolves get hungry? They eat each other. 2 days after she left the house, Steve forwarded a message from her personal email. No legalese this time. No signature line from her attorney. Just her. Subject: I just need you to hear me. The body? David, I know you hate me. I know you think you saw everything and that there's nothing left to say. But the truth is never that simple. Yes, Jason said awful things. Yes, I should have shut it down. But it wasn't what you think. I was scared. Of losing control. Of losing you. I didn't know how to fix it. Please don't let this end without letting me explain. Please. I sat back and read it twice. 3 times. She was finally breaking. And not in the dramatic, manipulative, crocodile tears kind of way. This was a woman staring at a future she never planned for. One without me. One without the house. One without the ATM she thought she could fool forever. She didn't want me back. She wanted the life I gave her. The comfort. The security. The silent servant who kept things spinning while she plotted her exit. Well, exit granted. I didn't respond. But Steve called later that afternoon. She filed a motion to contest the asset division. She's trying to get access to your retirement account now. Of course. Still trying to suck marrow from the bones. She has no grounds. I said. None. But she's trying. Let her. I'd already seen to it months earlier, transferring my retirement into a protected trust under a corporate shell with my name nowhere visible. She'd need divine intervention or a blueprint to get near it. She was flailing now, throwing papers in court like confetti at her own funeral. Meanwhile, Jason had officially dropped out of school. My contact at the bursar's office told me, off the record, yeah, he cleared out his dorm. Word is he's back with his biological father now. But that guy's in no shape to support anyone. Came in once with a bounce check. Whole thing's a mess. And suddenly, it hit me. Poetic justice wasn't just a clean break. It was them being forced to rely on the very people they claimed were more important than me. Let her go shack up with her real love, the man she was funneling my money toward. Let Jason play adult, in a house where excuses don't pay rent. Let them both sit in silence and feel what they made me feel for years. Used. Unseen. Undervalued. Maria found me later that evening sitting on the deck, staring out at the ocean like it owed me something. You still thinking about them? She asked gently. No, I said. I'm thinking about me. And I was. For the first time in a long time. I wasn't wondering how to fix things. How to mend. How to be the better man. I was wondering where I go next. What kind of man I want to be when I'm not carrying dead weight. There's a moment, after you burn the bridge, where you don't feel free yet. You just feel untethered. Like you're floating above the ashes, unsure if you'll land on something solid or drop into the smoke. But that night, sipping something dark and strong on the balcony of a villa I owned, bought in my name, earned with my grit, I felt my feet hit the ground again, and I didn't look back. And in that silence, I started to hear something I hadn't recognized in years. My own voice. Maria and I took a trip inland, up into the hills. A quiet little vineyard where the air smelled like crushed grapes and earth instead of bleach and lies. I didn't tell her it was a celebration. I didn't need to. The divorce was finalized that morning. Steve had called me just as the sun cracked over the ocean. It's done. No contest in the end. Her attorney withdrew the motion for retirement access. Probably realized they were chasing a ghost. And the house. Closed. You'll have the final payment within 48 hours. She's officially out. And just like that, the last thread snapped. No more shared titles. No accounts. No property. No legal bindings. Just a name I no longer had to hear, and a life I no longer had to finance. At the vineyard, Maria and I sat beneath a tangled canopy of grapevines and watched the sunset fall behind the hills. She poured the wine slowly, deliberately, like it mattered. And for the first time in too long, I drank without guilt. Without tension behind my eyes. Without checking my phone after every sip. You're quiet, she said. I'm trying to remember what it feels like, I said. What? To be a man who doesn't apologize for existing. She didn't respond. Just reached across the table and gave my hand the smallest squeeze. No words. No expectations. Just presence. That was what made Maria different. She didn't take. She didn't demand. She didn't make me earn my place at the table. She just showed up. And now, I was starting to do the same. Back in the States, she was still trying to breathe life into a ghost. The mutual friends? Gone quiet. Jason's girlfriend? She blocked him. Her sister? Apparently, even she had stopped returning calls after realizing the details of what really happened. They were alone now, her and the boy. No castle. No court. No kingdom. Just two liars in exile, picking up pieces of a scheme that never earned them the life they thought they were owed. And me? I wasn't angry anymore. That was the part no one expects. You'd think I'd want revenge. Some final, public humiliation. A viral takedown. But no, because true justice isn't about making them hurt. It's about making sure they can never touch you again. And I was untouchable. That night, Maria and I walked the vineyard path under string lights. There was a moment, small, fleeting, where I looked at her, and something in my chest didn't tighten. It opened, and I realized. I wasn't just moving on. I was becoming.